Hello and welcome to the Underhive. Today I wanted to take a look at the absolute state of the faction gear in the New World beta. Now as it goes, it is still a beta, so they could completely change all this, and I really hope they do. But on screen, you'll see there now, I'm just fighting through one of the corrupted breaches for level 25, and off the back of that, we'll get a spear dropped. I will put up the stats of the spear in advance for you there, and afterward I'm going to head back to one of the settlements that I'm settled in, and we'll take a look at the faction gear equivalent that you can buy. Now you'll see here that the spear that drops from the corrupted breach is leveled for that. It's a level 25 corrupted breach, makes perfect sense. But before that, once you reach the second rank of your faction, you would be able to buy a spear using not that many faction points and a little bit of gold. Easier to arrange over time than it would appear at first glance. And you can just buy a spear that is more or less the same. I don't think it's fair to say it's better than that, but it's pretty much the same gear score anyway. And I also wanted to take a look here at armoring, because I've been spending a bit of time doing armoring, because I think that's what I want to go for as my main trade skill when the game fully releases. But as you can see, a steel chest plate, a heavy steel chest plate, that's a kind of level 20s-ish item. That'll get a gear score of between 300 and 335. But again, you can buy the, in this case, Scrivener set, as I'm in the purple faction. You can buy the Scrivener heavy set, which is a gear score of 345, comes with 2 perks which are relevant in terms of what you're doing. So physical protection, it's only 1%, but it's something, and reduced cooldowns, which is good for everybody, particularly for melee, because you really want to get those abilities off as soon as you can. So my point here is just that they've made the faction gear too strong, and whether this is just for the beta to make sure that everybody can just get gear and get going, doesn't have to bother with the trade skills because they want to test the raids and all the other groups, say PvP content, then fair enough. I get that. I understand it as a gameplay decision specifically for the beta. But if they're not changing this for the main game, which I sincerely hope they do, then it completely invalidates crafting in the early game. And towards the later levels, granted I haven't experienced that myself, but I have seen it, you can get a lot of the rewards you would otherwise cover through crafting, just through raiding, over and over and over again. You're not going to get them every time you raid, but if you do it enough, you're going to get the drop you're after eventually. So rather than grind away mining iron and chopping wood and gathering hemp to spam the low level items, say like an iron breastplate, to get your armoring skill high enough to make a good steel breastplate or a good star metal breastplate, which is what I'm working towards, you could just grind away in the raids and eventually possess something equivalent to that higher level gear, perhaps even better aesthetically. But on the flip side, because a lot of people are doing that, it's not quite as diverse a look, particularly around like level 30 to 35. So my point here is just that they need to rebalance, particularly the gear in the faction shops. Either make it require a lot more resource, make it an actual investment, a few sets of missions, not just 1 or 2 runs doing all 3 missions, whether it's PvP or PvE. Make sure that it takes 5, 6, 7 runs worth of points to buy that gear, and otherwise leave the gear the same. Or leave the price of the gear and the availability of the gear the same, but mark it lower down. The first level chest plate is 280, I believe. The second is 345. The third is 480, I believe. So they're all towards the mid and higher end of that 100 benchmarks. Whether it's 2 to 300, it's the higher end of that. Whether it's 3 to 400, for that one it's midway. Whether it's 4 to 500, that's upper end again. Now, the gear score isn't the be-all and end-all. It does come down to the stats, but the point is those items come pre-built with 2 stats that are going to be important for you. Heavy armor gets strength and constitution. Most people wearing the heavy armor are running a strength build, or at least benefit from the strength and the constitution without it being an issue. Whereas gear that you'll pick up from drops can quite often be a heavy strength-based weapon like a war axe or a hammer with a dexterity modifier, which isn't any use to you unless you're running a build that does both, which not everybody that's running a strength weapon will want to also have a secondary dex. So the drops that you get in are sometimes not really designed for any archetype, whereas the faction stuff is pretty much designed for the archetype that will use it. So for me, I think they need to rebalance that in one of the two ways I've mentioned, and that should make the crafting and the economy more accessible and make it more of a requirement to get involved with. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got anything to add there, please feel free to leave me a comment. I always check those and I will get back to you. But otherwise, I will see you next time in the Underhive.